Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the 1804 show, chapter 2. I'm your host. You know me. But yeah, before we start this episode, man, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps me out a lot. And also just want to say thank y'all to everybody who supports your boy. You know, these ain't easy to do. But yeah, we got another episode of 1804 History. I was going to do it yesterday, but I had to pay homage to Malcolm X. So we coming live with another episode of a deep story out of the state of Louisiana. And it was the year of 1966. Mr. Gary Duncan, who was only 19 years old at the time. And basically, his cousin and his nephew was the first black boys to integrate a all-white school. And the funniest thing about it was, even though none of his family members went through it, he went through it because he was arrested for grabbing a student's arm, a white student's arm. And basically, you didn't do stuff like that back in the day. You just didn't do it. And he was just pretty much made out of example. Pretty much. And just a lot of people just don't really realize like the opportunities and the things that our ancestors done to make sure that we have better opportunities and better options, because he was sent to prison for 2 months and a $150 fine for this injustice. And basically, it was all a lie. It was just pretty much, he was stopping a fight that some white students pretty much was going to jump his family members because they was black. You know, it was their first day of school, by the way. And he pulls up to pick them up. And he asking pretty much his people's like, hey man, what's going on? He was like, these students trying to fight us. So he goes and break up the fight. He's like practically a young adult. So he grabbed one of the boys' arms and told him to go home. And the boy, pretty much, called him the N-word and all this other shit. So he's just telling him to go home. I don't want to hurt you. I'm not no threat to you. So his father, a few yards away, notices and see this and called the police and said that this colored boy slapped my son and I want to press charges on him. So he was arrested pretty much later that day. And this case is so important because they violated his constitutional rights. And that's why it's really important to know your amendments. In this particular case, the Sixth Amendment was pretty much like implemented. And basically the Sixth Amendment provides a right to a jury trial. And he was denied a jury trial based on the fact that he was a black person. And he pretty much appealed it multiple times to the Supreme Court. And his case was heard. But it's just the scrutiny and the agony and the stress that he went through behind that. because, you know, in the deep South, and this happened like in the Bayou, a small town of Louisiana. And he was practically made out of, you know, made an example of, you know, and it was crazy. And the movie Life, it just, I know that like a lot of people looked at that movie as a comedy, but it was like a lot of black men that was getting sent to prison over petty crimes all across the deep South and being lied on and being just victimized and getting shipped away and being away from their families. And it's crazy. And I watched this documentary on Stars called A Crime in the Bayou, basically. And that's the reference that I give from this episode, is to check out that. And he's speaking as an older man, and he's practically just reliving what he experienced. And it just makes me upset that somebody can go to prison for grabbing somebody's arm or breaking the fight and just get their lives taken away for nothing. You know what I'm saying? But it's still going on to this day. You know, people of color is getting shipped away to these prisons and these chain gangs, man. And it's just unfortunate because he didn't deserve that. He didn't do anything wrong. All he was trying to do was just stop a fight because it was his family members, you know, his cousin and his nephew. So it's just like, it's just so funny and so ironic how we can be labeled as racist when we don't have anything. We don't have no power. We don't have no resources. We don't have the ability to make laws, but yet we are called racist. And I just tell people, like, racism is a form of power. It's a form of justice. You know, it's not what people think it is, because, you know, nobody caught hell when they integrated into our schools. You know, when they was the only white kids and they didn't have to go through the type of scrutiny that we had to go through. When we went to school, we had to get escorted by the National Guard or cops or FBI agents. And it was a angry mob, like, forming outside every day. And these mobs would just be like consistent. It'd be like consistent basis. There wouldn't be no day off, you know? And I just can't help but to keep pushing that truth, you know? It's not like a narrative, it's the truth, you know? And these, you know, kids, man, these kids would be beaten. These kids would be, like, threatened. It would be a lot of, you know, calls to their house and telling them, like, oh, your kid better not be attending our school, otherwise, you know, something bad gonna happen. You know, there would be death threats for kids integrating these high schools, these middle schools, elementary schools. And I'm finna upload the pictures to all of this, since a lot of people don't believe me. But this 19-year-old kid got sent to prison for 2 months for something so petty and so unjust. You know what I'm saying? He ain't never got no real justice. And just to see the pain in his eyes when an older man talking about it. And he said that he was just, there was no peace after that, because they were trying to find him guilty of something else. Like they kept on harassing this man, all because he stopped the fight. And sometimes we gotta keep ourselves away from certain things, and I understand, you know, he was just trying to protect his family, but he made himself a target. And there's countless of stories of a lot of African Americans going to prison for petty crimes, and this is as petty as it gets, man. Like, you know, you go to jail for 2 months all because you stopped the fight, and this is crazy, you know. But hey, it's 1966 in Louisiana, in a Jim Crow South, and that's why I just, you know, want everybody to understand that you gotta thank the ancestors, you know, gotta thank the forefathers, you gotta thank everybody who put up with so much bullshit on a countless basis to make sure that the laws were changed and people fought hard and stuff, you know. And be grateful that this type of stuff didn't happen to you, because it can happen to anybody. But yeah, I just wanted to, you know, make a short but an effective episode tonight and let everybody understand that don't think that this can't happen to you, because it can. Unfortunately, it happened to Mr. Duncan and everything like that. But I just wanted to get on here to tell his story, because he needs to have his story heard, and just make sure that y'all subscribe, like, comment, share this video, and I'm out. Peace.